Hello everyone, this is Aisha Gaskar and I am recording a video for the as a demo lecture, and this is a chapter called as a cell, a basic unit of life. This is the chapter 4 of the biology subject. And today let us understand what is a cell and as a basic unit of life. Now, what do I need to construct the wall of the building? You are obviously going to tell me that will be bricks. And to build a like wall, you have to have the bunch of bricks, and you will arrange it in the orderly manner, layer by the layer, and you will be able to see that there is a huge wall. Now, let us look what will happen in the living organism. Same as the walls, we will be able to see that they are made up of the tiny, tiny building blocks, and these blocks are arranged in orderly manner by layer, just like the base of the walls you saw. But these building blocks has a special thing which is called as the cells. Now, these cells are the all the basic unit of life of all the organisms, like from the animals to microorganisms and to the human beings. They are all made up of cells, and the life as we know it, it is not existing if there are no cells. Now, what exactly is the cell? Now, what exactly is the cell? And a cell can be defined as the structural and the functional unit of life. But it's time to let us break the structure and the function unit of life. What do we mean by the terms, the structure and function? Let us start with the structure. The structural unit of life simply refers to the fact that all the complex organisms are comprised of orderly or arrangement of the cells. And these cells together don't just sit quietly, they form the different structures that make up the body. For example, many cardiac muscle cells come together, they form the cardiac tissue. So this cardiac tissue comes together to form the heart. Now, when I call as the cell as a functional unit of life, it simply means that the cell with all its components and the smallest living organism can survive and function on its own. So, in simple word, it means that the smallest living organism is actually a single cell organism, also called as the unicellular organism. Let us take an example of an amoeba. So, it is not the smallest living organism, but later on we will understand that. But amoeba is like a good example. As of now, we can take a example of unicellular organism. And this single cellular organism performs all the function of the life on its own. It consumes food, it digests the food, and it utilizes the food for its energy, and finally it ejests the undigested food out of the body. Now, let us understand the individual components of, for example, the membrane which covers the membrane, and even the proteins present in the cells, they can function on its own. Okay, so they don't come as the like they come as a whole, and individually they comprises as the cell as a basic unit of the life of, for example, amoeba. So let us understand what is the smallest living cell. As I said, I will tell you later. That is the smallest, which is hanging around here and there. It is called as the parasitic bacteria, which is the smallest known cell. It is a mycoplasma. Okay, this microplasma is very very tiny, which is 200 to 300 nanometers, and the it needs a powerful microscope to see through it, like to the mycoplasma. So you will now you will think that are the viruses very very small than mycoplasma? So if you think that yes, microscope the viruses are also smaller than like okay, so these viruses are smaller than that of the mycoplasma. But do they really follow in the category of the cells? No, they don't follow in the category of the cells, because the half, we can say that half they are living and half they are non-living. Why they are half living and half they are not living? Because they do not replicate by their own self. They need a host body for so that they replicate and they produce the number of the copies of themselves. Okay, so let us see whatever we have studied till today. Okay, as I said, okay, so we had understood that the cell is the fundamental structure and the functional unit of life of all the living cells. Okay, so as I said, the viruses is not classified as the smallest cell. Okay, so the mycoplasma we can consider as a smallest cell. And if we say that the what is the biggest cell? Okay, it is the ostrich egg. So what is this ostrich egg? It is 6 inches in height, and if it is compared with the smallest microorganism, which is mycoplasma, it is 5,000 times bigger than that of the mycoplasma. Okay, so let us understand let us understand that cells are made up of like many shapes and many sizes. They are from the smallest to the biggest cell. Okay, so they are in the range of this cells in between the ostrich egg and the mycoplasma. And if we want to know about the longest cell, it is the longest cell is the nerve cell of the blue whale. Okay, now let us understand the history of the cell. When we talk about the history of the cell, let us understand. So no, we know and we agree today that all the living organisms are made up of cells. But this there was no start what the cell looked like and how it looked like and everything. It was only around 16th century that we came to know that the existence of the cell. Okay, but what happened and why exactly do came to know that there is the cell and this is the cell and these are the components of the cell? Most of the cells are very tiny and did not have in the older time they didn't even have a like a proper microscope or lens which we have today. Today we are able to see each and every part of the cell and we will be able to understand each and everything. But it was all around the 16th century that lenses came into the existence and they are able to see the really very tiny objects. In 1616, for example, King Charles II of England wanted to know how the insect look like. Okay, so he commissioned the examination of the natural world of the lenses. Okay. So later on, Robert Hooke, he was the English physicist, and he was um, in 1635, and he introduced that the lenses. He put down the lenses together, and he studied way better than that of the King Charles, and he studied and the introduced the uh, so so Robert Hooke devised an instrument which has got like convex lenses, and he introduced the like more he observed the bunch of organisms. Okay, so Robert Hooke was the one who introduced this micrographia, and he it was his first book, and he wanted to know how random stuff look like, okay, under this fantastic instrument. He recorded the details of all this observation is in his book, and this book is called as Micrographia. This was the first book on the microscopy. Now, he was able to see each and everything under this microscope, and he decided that he wanted to see a thin slice of the cork. So let me just. So Robert Hooke was he saw that this cork cell, and he discovered that these are the small monk rooms. And these rooms and compartments he drew like this. He thought that these compartment looks like the small rooms that monk's room, and he called them as the cell, based on the term as the cellular. Okay, and this is the story of Robert Hooke and how the cell was discovered. But later on, the hollow and empty chambers was observed. It was not really like the living cell. Okay. Later on, Anthony von Leeuwenhoek first observed and a long live cell. Sorry, live cell. After the invention of the compound and electron microscope revealed the structural detail of the cell. Okay. So Anton von Leeuwenhoek was the one who was a Dutch lens maker, and he introduced the microscope and he improved upon his work, and he introduced that there is a living cell. And one more important thing I wanted to say that later on, the most important part of the cell was introduced by Robert Brown. So the most important part of the cell, as we know that it is the nucleus. The nucleus, it is the introduced by the Scottish botanist, which is Robert Brown. So he was basically studying the plant sample, and he saw that there are these dark spot in the plant sample. So what are these dark spots? It's in all the cells. They are present in all the cells properly. So what are these dark cells? They are present centrally, and he introduced that it is present centrally in all the cells, and it is the most important part of the cell. Okay, so that is the reason why he understood that it is the most important part, and it is called as the nucleus. So let us understand the cell theory. Okay, this cell theory was given by the two scientists which are known as Sheldon and Shaw. Okay, they too formulated the cell theory. But later on, what happened was Sheldon who observed that the plants are composed of cells. And what did Sean observe? Sean observed that the animal has also got the cells. Okay, so they both sat together and they introduced this theory, and they said, okay, there are two terms, like two points to be noted, that um, the living organism are composed of the cells and the cell products. And the second point was the very basic important point is the cell is a basic unit of the structure and organization in the living organism. But later on, what happened was the third thing which was introduced by Rodolph Virchow. He introduced the third thing, which is the most important thing, that if the cells are divided and new cells are formed from the pre-existing cells, and he modified the cell theory. And there were three statements which were very, very important. The third statement arises that the cell arises from the pre-existing cell. So this is how the cell theory was introduced. Now let us understand what are the components of the cell. The cell is basically made up of the cytoplasm, the ribosomes, and it is made up of the different types of the components which are coming together and which are making a cell functional, which functions like the all the activities of a human body is done by the cell. So not only one organelle of the cell, but they are the different components of the cell which come up together and they function as a part of the life, and they perform various different functions of the body. So it is very, very important to understand each and every part of the cells. Now, depending upon the cell membrane organelle, the cells are divided into two types. One is prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. When their cells are classified, so basically they are classified into two types. One is prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. When we talk about the prokaryotic cells, in the prokaryotic cells, there is an absence of the membrane bound organelle, and in the eukaryotic cells, there is the presence of the membrane bound organelle. Okay, so that means the nucleus which is there, it is not surrounded by a proper membrane in the prokaryote, but it is present in the cytoplasm itself. Okay, so that was the nucleotide in the cytoplasm of the prokaryotic cell, whereas in the eukaryotic cell, it was properly compartmented and like it was properly put into the nucleus, and the genetic material was present inside the nucleus. So, as we all know that what is the prokaryotic cell and what is the eukaryotic cell? Pro means before, karyotic means a kernel or a nucleus. So, the prokaryotic cell means before nucleus, and the eukaryotic cell means U means true, and karyotic means kernel or nucleus. So, it is a true nucleus which is present in the eukaryotic cell. Okay, so depending upon that, it is the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So all the plants, animals, and protozoan cells are eukaryotic cells. Okay, and the human body has got so many different types of cells, which are nerve cells, skin cells, muscle cells, white blood cells. So there are in total about 30 trillion cells in a human body. Okay, not even only the cells which is present inside, but there are the cells which is present outside the body. Now, what is present outside the body which we cannot see with our naked eye? So there are in total 40 trillion cells on and inside the human body. These cells which are outside or they are present sometimes on the body or inside the body are the prokaryotic cells. Okay, so depending upon that, there are different cells, for example, different shapes, different sizes, and there are different modes of organization. So that's how we can come to an end of this class, and we have understood that the basic structure of the cell and who discovered the cell and what are the different cell theory and the classification of the cell. So we understood the smallest cell and the largest cell and the longest cell, which is the nerve cell and the human cell. Okay, so we will end this class over here. Thank you so much, and I hope you understood each and everything, and we will meet soon. Thank you.